What's going on, fantasy football fans? I'm your host, Hussein the Brain, and you're watching The Couch. This video is all about the 2013 fantasy football draft. What you need to know to prepare for your draft, strategy and philosophy you need to have while drafting, and a whole bunch of other goodies that I'm going to put in this video. Before we get into all that, I want to tell you about the apparel we have at Fantasy Couch. Now use the code COUCH50 and you'll get 50% off on all t-shirts, tanks, and sunglasses. Again, that's COUCH50 and get 50% off on our apparel. We also have a championship belt. We also have fantasy football champion t-shirts. You can check out the championship belt and all our other products at fantasycouch.com/store. Now let's jump right into the draft. The number one resource you need to know when drafting is your rankings. Make sure you know your overall rankings as well as rankings by player position. The second most important thing is ADP. Know your average draft position. Know where each player is selected in the draft. The third most important thing is mock drafts. Do your mock drafts. But I'll take it even further. Do real drafts. I don't care if you actually play in the draft you just did, but do them. A lot of mock drafts can be fake, phony. You can get a lot of the players you target, and that's not going to be a real simulation. Do a few real drafts. The fourth most important thing is cheat sheet. Make sure you bring some kind of cheat sheet to the draft, especially if it's a live draft, so you know who you're targeting. And I'm going to give you my personal cheat sheet. It's going to be on fantasycouch.com right below this video. The fifth most important thing, know your sleepers, know your late round picks, know your undervalued picks and your busts. Let's look at some of my top sleepers I have. At the quarterback position, two players that I often target are Andrew Luck and Tony Romo. I think in the 7th and 8th round you get great value for them. And Matt Schaub, he is just so undervalued. He is a great backup quarterback. And now that he has DeAndre Hopkins over there, I think he's going to be just as good as he was last year. Probably better, if anything. If you're bold enough to draft Vic in your draft, I give you props. The upside is there, but so is the risk. EJ Manuel makes for a good backup quarterback in deep leagues. He's usually available there in the late rounds, and the upside is definitely there. A sleeper at running back that I always target in drafts is Rashard Mendenhall. With the new team change, him going to Arizona, he's either going to be a bust, he's either going to be terrible, or he's going to be great. We'll just have to see. I like taking that risk there. Daryl Richardson, he's a guy that was drafted very late in earlier drafts that people were having, but now he's moving up the ADP rankings. He is going to be the number one running back on the Rams. Ben Tate's always been an Arian Foster shadow, but this year I have a gut feeling he'll get more carries than he did the season before. LaMichael James is a flyer pickup that you can get in the late rounds, and so is Marcel Reese. The only reason I have Reese on this list is because McFadden tends to get hurt a lot, and if you're in a PPR league, he just may be worth a draft selection. And here are my wide receiver sleepers. Danny Amendola is going to start the season being Tom Brady's number one target. That should be enough said right there. Over there in Houston, they seem to finally found someone to complement Andre Johnson, and that's DeAndre Hopkins. Ruben Randle makes this list because I don't see both Cruz and Nicks being healthy the entire season. In some leagues, Justin Blackmon is really slept on. One of the reasons is because he's suspended. Now, you draft Justin Blackmon as your number 5 wideout, you're not going to even have to start him the first 4 games anyways. He's going to be a bye week fill-in, therefore making a good late round pick. Wide receiver is hands down the deepest position this draft. Monitor the situations in Minnesota, San Francisco, and New England, as some of those wideouts will be great late round pickups. Tight end's a really tough position to draft, and if you don't get one in the early rounds, I suggest you wait way later in the draft and find a good tight end. Remember, there's always good tight ends that go undrafted. Remember, last year Kyle Rudolph was really good. It's really tempting to get a top tier defense in the mid rounds, but if you can wait, here's a good list of sleepers right here. Now, the Buccaneers and Falcons, I've always been weary of picking these guys as sleepers because of the division they're in, but I'm going to go with them again. I think they'll be good defenses. The Buccaneers being better. You always want to wait till the last round to pick a kicker. And here are some good kickers that are available right there in the last round. You don't want to reach too much to get a handcuff, but if you're in a deep league and some of these guys slip in the draft, don't hesitate to pick them up. You want to get Ben Tate if you have Arian Foster, Michael Bush if you have Forte, Bryce Brown if you have McCoy, and Andre Brown if you have David Wilson, And another good one is Fred Jackson if you have CJ Spiller. It's really hard to come out with some busts, but here's some busts that I think are just being drafted way too early. DeMarco Murray. Now, every time you draft a Cowboys running back the past few years, they seem to disappoint you, and I have a feeling Murray's going to get hurt. CJ Spiller was a guy that was really tough to put on this bust list because he's really talented. He's going to get a lot of yards. He's going to play pretty well, but I expect a lot of inconsistency from him and a lot of missed opportunities in the red zone. Well, all three of the Broncos receivers are being taken in the first 6 rounds, and that just doesn't add up. Not all three of them are going to be that successful. I think Decker's the one that's going to be left out a little bit. Demaryius Thomas and Wes Welker are going to be the 2 top targets over there for Manny. Make sure you guys do your research and plan well before you draft. Now I want to show you guys some draft strategies that I personally use when I'm drafting. I want to get to know my opponents. If I'm in a league with buddies, I want to get to know my opponents. Let's say a team name is Niner Faithful or Romosexual. That team owner is more likely to select a Niner player or reach for a Cowboy player. This is a very small thing to factor it in, but take it into consideration. Also, if you have an offline draft, an in-person draft, someone shows up wearing a jersey, they're more likely to draft the player that's on their jersey. Next important thing is you want to know your scoring, your setting, your league rules. Let's say a league gives 6 points per passing touchdown. That means it's a QB heavy league. You want to know if it's PPR or non-PPR. You want to know if there's an IR spot. Now, if there's an injured reserve spot, you can draft an injured player or pick up an injured player, put him on IR, and this allows you to pick up an extra person. It's like having one more player on your roster. And the most important draft strategy that I use is to draft with your brain and not your heart. Don't just pick players you like and don't avoid people that you hate. The number one example of this is Tony Romo. He's a decent quarterback and I don't like him. He's not clutch, but he's a great person to draft in your league. I hope this video helped you guys out. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and I'll be doing a lot more videos. Feel free to ask me questions on our Twitter, YouTube comments, however you want. I'll get to them as promptly as I can. And check out that cheat sheet at fantasycouch.com.